right? So as we get away with all this, and that's why the USCCB keeps updating it, 2005, 2011, 2018, and just last year there were new things. One of the things that they added now is it's not just the protection of these children and those clergy sexual abuse, but they're now also extending it for the protection of the elderly who are abused. So you might say, what does this have to do with No More Secrets or this, you know? Well, USCCB is, you know, is encompassing everything now to the whole family, all right? Because you probably held up elderly abuse too, right, Brad? Sometimes we're always abused, right? By our parents. No, I'm just looking at you because you were sitting with me earlier. That's a joke, okay? So you can see that even the church actually is on top of what's happening, okay? So this Charter for the Protection of Children and Young People directs action in all the following matters. It creates a safe environment for children and young people. What it is in our Diocese of Oakland, I just came across one of the deacons here, Deacon David? Yeah. And he found out what's going on. So he said, make sure you tell them that the Diocese of Oakland does everything they can when it comes to the protection of children as far as the sexual abuse, right? He didn't realize that I was part of the No More Secrets. By the way, he's thinking only that, well, this is a side story again. When I got involved in this, there's another deacon who joined me in here. His name is Deacon Larry Quinn. There's over, how many deacons we have in the community now? Over 100? Active? Is it only 78? I thought it's over 100, the last meeting we had. You know, active, that is. Yeah. Out of this, over let's say 78 or 80 deacons, only 2 were maybe crazy or stupid enough to join this No More Secrets ministry. Why? Well, you know, like I told you, nobody would want to touch this ministry with a 10-foot pole. People say, oh, they'll get over that. It's not a ministry that's going to last. They won't get over that. Sometimes I get comments like, oh, so what's your service ministry? And oh, I'm still with the numbers. Oh, you're still doing that? Isn't that over yet? Do you imagine that kind of reaction from people? So there's still that denial going on. But our Diocese of Oakland has this safe environment program. And as a matter of fact, by the way, I don't think I made it a point to, there's a reference I had in the very first slide. You can see me later on where most of these materials in the diocesan website are available. So, the Safe Environment Program of the Diocese of Oakland is this. If you are a volunteer over the age of 18 and have direct ongoing contact with minors or vulnerable adults, you need to be live scanned, fingerprinted, and cleared through the Department of Justice prior to beginning your ministry, your service ministry, right?
Safe conduct, right?
Well, actually, it's a, what it is they're going to fingerprint you, and they're going to check your fingerprint against the records. FBI, CIA, or whatever, right? Make sure you don't have priors. Because if you do have priors, depending on what the prior offenses, depending on what that is, they could disqualify you from serving. And these are those who are in direct contact with minors. Sample, the deacons. We are live scanned. All the clergy are live scanned. Sister, you're live scanned? Not yet? Okay. Well, if you're ministering actively in here, you need to be live scanned. All teachers, all right? All teachers? Okay. Catechist? Okay. We called it CCD before, right?
Yeah.
They're all live scanned. So that is a requirement that I think, as far as I know, only our diocese requires for now. I might be wrong. I think our diocese might be following through that already. Then, all unprinted or volunteers must be screened through the Megan's Law website prior to beginning service. So if you're an usher, external ministers of communion, lector or whatever, right? You have to go to the Safe Environment program where you attend a class, yes, or the Virtues Online, yes, every 3 years. So everybody knows that, right? Yes. Okay. Shield the Vulnerable, that you can go online or you can attend a live class. Every year that your name is there, your Safe Environment Coordinator, which is normally a staff member of your parish, runs your name through the Megan's Law, or Megan's List. You know what that means? So even though you cleared your live scan, even though you went to Safe Environment and for some reason you were convicted or you were accused or whatever in another state, another country, or maybe not another country, because but let's say another state within the United States, normally they'll include your name in the Megan's List. That means you're a sex offender. Once you are in that list, you will not be allowed to serve. You might say, "Oh, I'm just serving as an altar linen society, or as a usher or something like that." Well, our diocese is very strict about that. Every single any volunteer for the church, in your parish, for the parish under the Diocese of Oakland, has to go through every single one of that. Okay, here's the pushback. There's some teachers that says, "Oh, I've already had that fingerprinting through my school," right? Remember, or even in the medical field. That's still different. It's a no. You still have to get the live scan from here, right? So then they'll say, "Oh, I've been working with young kids. I've been a teacher for 50 years, and you're telling me I have to take this safe environment training? What, I don't know how to handle kids?" So there's those pushbacks that they have, right? Those rejections. Even though it's only every 3 years that you have to take it, there's still this objection about this. Why are you objecting when you are protecting our children? Then they'll say, "Well, what does it do if I go to that safe environment training?" Well, one of the things that they teach us there is you'll be able to find out if a child is being abused. There's warning signs, right? And you, being a leader, we're all leaders in here, that's why we're in the School of Leaders. You could be a lector, you could be an extra minister. These young children will look up to you, and will sometimes confide in you if they're being, remember now, the charter, that's why it's always being revised, it's not just addressing clergy sexual abuse anymore. It's also addressing abuse in the household, right? So now the charter has expanded this, not just for the. Is it something I said?
No, you own.
Battery.
Running low on battery, maybe.
You're changing it. So basically, what it does, it helps us, if we're safe environment trained, to identify these warning signs, the early warning signs. Okay, not necessarily that they're being abused by clergy, but they are undergoing abuse. And I don't have to go to details of what abuse is. It could be physical, it could be mental, right? It could be any kind of abuse that's in there. All right. Let's see where we at here. How are we doing in time? I still have an hour? No? And I'm over an hour here? Yeah. Okay. So there's also healing and reconciliation of victims and survivors. That's where these No More Secret support groups come into place. And I'll give you more information where that happens. Next slide.
Next slide.
Also, the charter has this prompt and effective response to allegations. So when the accused are credibly charged, a report is submitted, investigated, and found that the report is credible, they're actually taken out of ministry automatically. You probably heard already some events that happened, in our parish, right? Why did they take Father so and so out? Why, was he guilty? Well, because of the zero tolerance that we have, the zero tolerance policy that our diocese have, once there's an allegation, and then that allegation's been investigated by the police, because now they also have to report it to the police, right? As clergy, as we clergy, and as medical and some teachers, you are mandated reporters. You know that, right? You're a mandated reporter. So if a child goes to you and say, you know, I'm being abused, you got to report it by law within 48 hours, right? So when those kind of allegations happen, and then when they have credible evidence that it has happened, the person is taken out of ministry. Not like in the old days, where they're reassigned from parish to parish. That's why this whole thing kept happening, right? Oh, maybe this, you know, person just has a problem with this environment or something. Let's put him in a different environment. Maybe he might not be. Or maybe somebody's just accusing, doesn't like him. Maybe in another place. Well, guess what? You know, if the pedophile is there, it's a pedophile. Wherever you bring the pedophile, it's still a pedophile, right? Okay, disciplining the offenders. Are we still there? This allegation. Can I get one more? So cooperating with the civil authorities, and then disciplining the offenders. Okay, so that's a zero tolerance. Next slide. So the charter provides means for accountability for the future to ensure the problem continues to be effectively dealt with through the Secretariat of Child and Youth Protection. This is the USCCB Secretariat, not our own Secretariat. The National Review Board. So here's what happens. The diocese reports every year, at the end of the year, how many people went through safe environment, what are the age brackets of those, what do they do, how many went through Megan's Law, and how many did not clear the Megan's Law. So these are statistics that USCCB takes, and then they come out with new regulations the upcoming year. Because remember, any one person who's victimized, becomes survivor of this, is one too many. Does that make sense? That's why it's no more secrets, because it's all out in the open right now. We don't keep it a secret anymore. We let everybody know what's going on, and we let everybody know what needs to be done so that it will never happen again. But then, you know, like the Pope says, these are all works of the devil. You know, if you allow the devil to get in, he'll get in. It could happen. But as leaders, that's our job. That is our job, to be aware of this and be cooperative with this. So, no more secrets ministry. Next slide. One more. Was formed in 2002, even before the passage of the charter. So they were forming this charter in Dallas, but our diocese, the Diocese of Oakland, was already forming their own. And No More Secrets is one of those ministries that they started, right? So No More Secrets Ministry is a mutual help support group providing an opportunity for personal sharing, prayerful reflection, and spiritual renewal. So what are the things we're doing with this? You know, used to be during the deconfirmation, we have some of the survivors come and talk to them, so they know how to identify, or at least how to deal with those kinds of situations. Sister Barbara Flannery, who used to be the Chancellor of the Diocese of Oakland, she was instrumental in getting this No More Secrets to get started in 2002. And of course, with our Bishop Emeritus, Bishop Cummins. The very first event was started actually in near the Holy Names, where there was an apology service. You remember those apology services? Who remembers ever going to those? If you remember that, you should see me in there, because all the apology services, there was always 2 deacons with the bishop going around. So we picked parishes around the diocese where there was alleged actual abuse that occurred in that parish. I was surprised to find out that my parish was one of them. So we actually have a priest in our parish who was actually accused and found credible that and he was guilty. So we were going around the parishes doing apology services. And then we even have this tree planting ceremony to kind of start up this ministry. It's in the Lafayette Retreat Center. Any of you been there? Brother, where is he at? Our cook. Brother Joel, he had to leave. That's the place where he had that accident. I don't know if you heard the story, right? Near that place. And then we also have this healing garden at the Cathedral. Who knows about the healing garden in the Cathedral? My golly, look at that. Not too many people knows about this. If you look upstairs, up here, right, there's a garden in there with a rock. All right, if you have an opportunity, right now it's too dark to find it. So this was created by the Diocese of Oakland for the survivors of clergy sexual abuse. So there's a garden in there. When this cathedral was being built, that was already part of the plan. Remember Archbishop now, Alan Vigneron, who actually ordained me, he was instrumental in getting the architectural and all those things done in here. That was part of his plan, is to have a healing garden for the survivors of clergy sexual abuse. Right? Because remember, what happened to them is when this happened to all these survivors who were victimized with this clergy sexual abuse, what did they do? They left the church. They didn't just leave the church, but they got angry at the church, so their family didn't go to church. They didn't baptize their children. I mean, they just stayed away. So the No More Strict Ministry was to get him back to the church, to get their faith back. And one of the things to actually prove that and show that is to the healing garden that's up here. It's just actually right on top of us here. Okay. I encourage you to check that out and look at it. There's some inscriptions in there that tells you about the ministry. Next slide. So, our mission. This ministry calls the Diocese of Oakland to address with integrity the harsh realities of sexual abuse in a pastoral setting. Survivors of clergy sexual abuse, the laypersons and clergy work together to support and empower survivors in their healing and promote acceptance of these survivors. I talked to you about these apology services that's been done. And I think when Archbishop now Alan Vigneron was here, we covered all the parishes in the Diocese of Oakland to do these apology services. Our mission too is to educate, to transform attitudes, and to bring community awareness of the issues surrounding clergy sexual abuse. That's why we have these safe environment training sessions that we have. Create, sustain, and ensure implementation of policies designed to prevent abuse and to hold abusers accountable. Okay? So, I just call this NMS, just to be short. No More Secrets Ministry. So it includes survivors of clergy sexual abuse, working together with members of the clergy who are willing to open themselves to devastating experience of what it means to be sexually abused by a priest or member of the clergy. Together, hand in hand, we work as advocates for victims, the survivors, to bring support, empowerment, and hope to their lives, tragically altered by the debilitating legacy of clergy sexual abuse. As I mentioned, there's 2 deacons right now that are actually involved in this. Every time we have a deacon assembly or a gathering, I try to invite more to be part of this ministry. Because see, here's the other thing also that I think discouraged, and I almost got discouraged with this before. When we were first doing these meetings with them, there's over 50 survivors of clergy sexual abuse who were actually attending. Over 50. The first meeting we had was at Holy Redeemer, where we just had our Cursillo, right? So the diocese actually allotted a space there. And then we have like a therapist or a clinician that actually